Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and in today's episode we are finally checking out the Miltech's MV-22B Osprey. There's going to be a lot of things that you guys are going to want to hear about this particular aircraft, especially if you're someone who wants to just jump in and fly. So stick around guys, because I'm going to walk through the whole shebang with you. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. Okay, so first off, I guess the whole shebang is not exactly accurate. We're going to obviously do the VSTOL takeoff and landing. We're going to do a vertical takeoff. We're going to do a vertical landings. But before we can get into all that, guys, I want to focus on some things that are very important that were in the manual. This is definitely an aircraft where you want to RTFM. For those of you who don't know what RTFM means, I will tell you what the R, T, and M is, which is read the manual. You guys can probably fill in the blank on what the F it means. So you definitely want to RTFM with this particular aircraft because there's a lot to it. So we're going to talk about the pros and cons to this aircraft. Now, the one thing that I will give this developer right out of the gate is that they left no stone unturned in their documentation, meaning that they were very forthcoming with any of its lackings, if you will. I think that's actually bad terminology, but you guys get what I'm getting at. So let's talk about the first thing right out of the gate that I really appreciated that the developers put in the documentation, and they put it in the documentation early on. And that is the fact that because of the limited SDK, that you could find yourself, for example, the vertical takeoff on this is a little awkward. It's very sudden. It's very abrupt. It doesn't sort of slowly pull up. It just sort of gets up. However, everything outside of that, the aircraft flies very, very well. I did a very brief flight with it yesterday. Was going to do a video on it yesterday, and OBS was being a pain in the backside. Hopefully I've ironed that out, but we'll see what happens as time goes on. So, due to the limitations of the SDK and the current support for vertical lift aircraft, helicopters, etc., there is some odd behavior, and I'm going to call it odd and be very, very loose with that term because it's not a game breaker by any means, and it makes the aircraft a ton of fun to fly. The aircraft is extremely challenging and has a lot of caveats and nuances that you really have to pay attention to, or you will wind up breaking this aircraft. So let's walk through some of those right out of the gate right now to make sure that you guys don't have any concerns when you first get into the aircraft. So if you watch this video and then you come back and complain about this stuff later, guys, I'm going to get you for it because we're going to walk through the biggest things. First off, any assist and realism settings for piloting the aircraft must be set to the hardest mode. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to check some of that out here. Let's get into the menus and we're going to talk about what I'm referring to. So we have aircraft systems set to hard and piloting set to hard. You guys need to make sure that these are set as according to that. If not, you can have some goofy behavior or the aircraft may just not fly at all. Okay, the other thing is, now this is going to be a hard one. I don't think I've touched this since I got the simulator. Give me a second. There it is, flight model. Flight model must be set to modern. Okay, if you are not set to modern, again, if the aircraft flies at all, it's going to fly very, very weird. Okay, next thing here is that we want to make sure that we talk about is that by default, the aircraft has or is set to fly in its hardest simulation mode. There are different simulation modes that are available via control of the CDU inside the aircraft. Every single time you fly it, if you do not want it on its hardest settings, you will need to go in and change it. It is not persistent. Each time you fly the aircraft, you will have to change that setting from hardest. We're going to get into some more of this a little bit later on, but one of the bigger things is engine RPM percentage. The engines can run at 98% for only about 60 seconds. If you go higher than that for longer than 60 seconds, the engines will fail, as is, according to the documentation, true to its real life counterpart. So keep that in mind as well. Finally, one of the big things that I know many of you enjoy using is the auto start. I know I have used it plenty of times myself when I'm being lazy. we cannot use the auto start with this aircraft. It must be started according to its startup procedures. The other thing is the lights, the L command on the keyboard, which we know by all default aircraft and all Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft, if you tap L, all of your lighting systems will come on or off. That is, again, also not an option in this particular situation. With this particular aircraft, you must use all the rotaries, etc., in order to control your lights. Okay, now, the engine, by the way, the engine limitations of 98% for 60 seconds, that is removed if you change the flight reality inside the CDU to easy. Then you don't have to worry about that. Autopilot and auto throttle mode, the nacelles must be at 0 degrees in order for that to function. If you do not do so, the autopilot and auto throttles do not work. So again, the nacelles must be at 0 degrees, basically what they're at right now. Okay, and then finally, the aircraft does have an auto hover between 40 and 300 feet of radar altimeter. So basically 40 to 300 feet above ground level. The and if the arm light is illuminating, the auto hover can be used. However, the auto hover will disengage automatically if any of those parameters are changed or in any kind of high wind situation. Finally, do not ever pause the simulator if the nacelles are not at 0 degrees. Again, what you're seeing on the screen right now is the nacelles at 0 degrees. If your nacelles are ever in any other configuration and you pause the sim, the simulator can have drastic effects, unfortunately, when you unpause it and cause things to go very, very south. Okay, there's a few other issues that the developers put into the documentation, guys. They've done a really good job. They are very, very forthcoming. Again, they earned epic respect from me just for that alone. It was on the sales site that, there are limitations due to the current SDK, as well as in the documentation. It breaks down many of the issues to be expected at the current time. The one thing that you're going to want to make sure that you guys map if you decide to purchase this aircraft is, let's make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. That's my trim switch. No, that's not what I want. What am I looking for? Give me a second. These ones. Increase cowl flap 4. Decrease cowl flap 4. You want to map these two buttons on your HOTAS, flight stick, yoke, whatever you're doing. This is how we control the nacelles position. Okay, as far as I can tell, there is not an axis. So you just want to bind these to two buttons, that you can push up and down very easily. And you guys are going to see what that looks like in action here in just a minute. Those were the biggest things that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is we're going to start the aircraft in a very simple form, just sort of walk you guys through how to just get in and get going. Now, one of the things that I'm not going to do is enter a flight plan or anything like that. We'll probably tool around, fly around the Tucson area, maybe go do some, low-level terrain buzzing and things like that. And, have a good time and check the aircraft out. And then make a very dedicated and foolhardy attempt at landing this aircraft vertically as well. So, without further delay from my big mouth, let's go ahead and get into the cockpit and get started. All right. So we are back in the cockpit here, and you guys can see, if you notice, I didn't do an exterior interior inspection like we normally do. It looks fabulous, guys. I just didn't feel much of a need to do that. I think they've done a wonderful job. The one thing that I'm very jealous on is I'd love to see this thing in DCS world. I think it would be a hit. So honestly, it's just a complaint. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is flip our battery on. And again, the sounds are fantastic on it. We're going to set the APU to run engine. So that is going to be this guy right here. So there's one, and there's run engine. Exterior lights as required, again on the overhead panel. Let's see here, cockpit dome, secondary. All right, that's primary lighting. Overhead, pilot, co-pilot. I'm actually not seeing exterior lights. Am I losing my mind? Oh, there they are. Display position lights. There they are. Come on, Track IR. Quit messing with me, man. Come on. There we go. I think we got that switched. Oh, no. That's display. It's not position lights. Did I read that right? Let's see here. Exterior. Oh, I'm an idiot. No, it says center console. It helps when you read it. The documentation does tell you where to find everything, as clearly I needed to read. Center console. Center console. Center console. That's the autopilot panel. You would think this would be our center console. Guys, I have to forgive me. My track IR is being a little goofy right now. I moved the camera down onto the top of my cockpit, and I don't think it likes it very much. So it's going to be one of those things we're going to have to deal with. Worst case scenario, I'm not going to worry about the exterior lights. Oh, hey, that actually works. Interesting. Okay, I shouldn't be tripping here, guys. We got flaps, track handle, gear release, emergency. There's the CDU controls. Autopilot. Huh. Well, let's turn everything else on first and we'll come back to it. So, let's turn our displays on. I don't want to waste too much time. I really don't. I know you guys are interested in the good part. So am I. Now you can set your display range here. Actually doesn't look like that's tracking yet. Radio altitude set. So that's our radar altitude. Transponder code. Barometric pressure. There we go. Just tap it. 27909. I have a hard time believing that's what it is out here. But we'll see. TACAN, COM, VOR. So those are all your nav radios. Interesting. Like I said, I took it for a very, very quick flight yesterday. And then OBS was being a pain in the ass, so I decided not to do the video on it. Okay, so let's just get going. I'm not going to worry about... Oh, center console CDU. Gosh, Mike. It literally says it. Guys, read the whole thing. Don't be like me. Alright, external lighting system, magnetic headings, vertical speed limits, speed limits, that longitude, system time, timer, sequence, com, nav, enav, flight plan, waypoint. Okay, so standard CDU, stats, fuel, ECAS warnings, ECAS itself, CDU. I don't see anything for external lights though. System time, GPS, magnetic heading, system datum, aircraft initialization. Go, date, system time, aircraft. That's on menu 1. Check menu 2. Longitude, land, seat. Wow, this is pretty awesome. Oh, and there's our flight mode there. You can see hard is selected. But I don't see anything about the external lights. Alright, we'll look for those at a later time. Like I said, I'm not going to waste too much time on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and move down. Interior lights as required. Set CDU to ECAS. Did we actually do that? We did. We're back on the ECAS page. I'm switching back and forth between the checklist here. Parking brake is on. That's behind the center pedestal. Rotor brake is off. Let's go top. Rotor brake is off. That's the center handle here. Fuel quantity check. Nacelles at 90 degrees. All right, so this is where we use our nacelle controls. This is where the Cal Flap 4 increase and decrease comes into play. Helps if I push the right button. Go. You can watch the nacelles rolling up. Look at that. God, they're huge. We're going all the way up to 90 degrees. All right. What are we at? Oh, my bad. Went too far. There we go. 90 degrees. All right. So our process here is we're going to check and make sure the engine is clear from any obstacles. Move the engine to control start lever to the start position. Prop rotor, observe the rotate. ECAS NGE. We should be seeing percentage RPM gain after about 30 seconds. Should see the engine stable between 70 and 72%, and then we'll switch over to the opposing engine. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to make sure we have the right engine selected. There we go. And we're going to move that down to the start position. Now, both rotors should start turning. Gosh. As there's actually a centralized transmission, or a gear shaft, if you will, that connects the two rotors. So if you were to lose one engine, as long as that linkage is in place, you'll be able to continue to fly the aircraft with both of the rotors rolling. So it is absolutely normal and true to life that both rotors are in action right now. NG at 68%. All right, guess that's good enough. Now we're going to swap on over to the left engine. Thing's a beast. All right, both engines are set. We're going to move the rotor or throttles into the engine start switches into the fly position and set APU to off. Okay. All right, so engine control levers are now both in the fly position. APU is stopped. Parking brake is still on for the moment. Nacelles and throttle as required, minimum of 60 degrees. Okay, and speed under 20 knots. Flap should go to auto. Fuel quantity check. Doors and ramps closed. Decide takeoff, VTOL, or STOL. So first we'll taxi. So let's move those rotors down to 60 degrees. Yeah, that's so dope. There we go. And you see it's got limitations. I can no longer rotate that. So what we're looking at is right here. You can see that these are the authorization envelopes for the rotors. So inside of this envelope is all we can move them. I can push the controls down all I want, but now that the engine is running, it won't let me move any further. And there's our 72% of idle there that we see there. So pretty awesome configuration. All right, so let's release the parking brake. We're going to add a little bit of RPM. That should clear the master caution. Let me move my camera back. I feel like I'm like right in its face. Whoa, she got moving. So you can already, just in the taxi, you can feel the oddities of it. Now I can clear that master alert, but then we start taxiing like crazy, so hopefully that's something they adjust. Unless that's true to life, at idle you get that warning. Maybe I can bring the rotors up a bit more to reduce that forward momentum. Looks like that helped a little bit. every time I add power, I keep taking it back, so we end up losing it again or getting the alert back. There we go. So taxing right about 80 degrees seems to be favorable if you don't want to deal with the alerts. This is going to be a fun one to do more flights with, and I think this is one that should absolutely. I suppose I could get on a taxiway, huh? This would be a fun one if they like add it to NeoFly. There's a lot of cool things we could do with it. And flap switch right down there is in the auto position. So we're good to go there. Taxiing it feels weird. Alright, so on a vertical takeoff, maximum weight is 52,000 pounds. We should probably double check and see where we are. Right now we're only at 39,000, so well underneath that envelope. Alright, so for vertical takeoff, nacelles are going to be between 87 and 92 degrees. And we should just slowly increase the throttle and try to establish a hover at 20 feet. Alrighty. We're going to take the runway right here, guys. Okay. Autopilot functionality and things like that, I'm probably not going to show off much today. Gosh, I just did not care about that taxi line today, did I? Today we're just going to sort of fly it in again in its raw form. No hotshot autopilot stuff. Yes, I know the RPM is low. Oop. Ah. All right, 87 and 92. So let's move the rotors forward. Let's just go to 90. We'll put it right in the middle. How's that? Come on. There it goes. I probably should have done that after I hit the runway. Yeah, definitely. It's such a weird aspect of flying. It's completely different. Not quite the helicopter, not quite the plane, right? Very similar to flying the Harrier in DCS in that aspect. I haven't flown the Harrier in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I don't think I will. There are certain aircraft that for me it's just like, nah. Alright. So let's get her back to where she's supposed to be. 91 it is. And we're just going to slowly advance the throttle. Nope. No going backwards. Let's hold that wheel brake. Flying power. We're now at 86%, 87%. There's 92. 93. And 95. So she picks up. It's like that fine line. I'm trying to establish the hover like it wants me to, but now it's allowing me to pitch forward like you would with a helicopter using the flight stick, and I don't know how true to life that would be. But there she has it. We're up, right? Let's go ahead and start adding a bit more in. Slowly begin rotating. See our safety envelope. Pitch up. The noise you're hearing is the flaps controlling. They are set to auto, so you're going to hear the flaps constantly moving. Let's rotate those blades down a little bit further. And now we are outside the envelope, so we need to really bring the rotors in. Looks like now we can continue our transition all the way down to 0 degrees, continuing to pull back on the flight stick as we accelerate. Now passing through 160 knots. I'm going to bring the landing gear up. Whoa, and as she transitions into flight mode, if you will, now we are screaming. Very touchy aircraft. Incredible. Wow. So right away, I'll tell you this thing gets up and moves. Let's pull some speed back. Looks like you can do a coupled waypoint arming. That's what we're seeing there on the autopilot control panel. Very bumpy flight. It's definitely, there you go. Look at that though, man. This thing is awesome. She's touchy. Like I said, I mean, very, watch the stick. Maybe not touchy, responsive? Maybe that's better terminology here. That is sick, man. This is freaking cool. Thoroughly impressed. This is a very enjoyable flight experience. Man, it's like nothing you've ever seen in simulation. The best of both worlds. Like I said, I love that we have it in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And by the way, guys, I just want to make it very clear too. I purchased this with my own money. I don't want you guys to think this is this wasn't given to me. Not that you guys ever get any different opinion. You guys know I don't. I have no problem speaking my mind, but I'm very pleased with my purchase. Very pleased. And this is only my second flight in the aircraft, and I've yet to have a... Well, no, I successfully landed it yesterday in the middle of the desert, and then when I tried to take back off is when things went bad, but I think that was my own damn fault. What the heck is that? I don't even know what that is. Here's the mines. Wow. All right, let's take it down low and really rip it up, shall we? Simulate a military incursion deep into enemy territory. The soldiers fly their Osprey through the enemy's gates of hell. All odds against them. One Osprey against the world. Against bulldozers and dump trucks. Who will win in this glorious battle? Best I got for you right now. Whoa! thing is awesome. I keep like leaning forward. That's me doing that. I'm like leaning so forward into the cockpit. It's like, where are we going? Gotta watch every inch. Yeah, you guys could have some fun with this aircraft. And you could even, you know, if you're not big into military scenarios, you know, you could find yourself doing humanitarian aid in the aircraft, you know? There's a lot of things this aircraft would be capable of doing. They're actually getting ready to replace it. I think Bell has the new version, a new Osprey, if you will. It's not the Osprey, I can't remember what they're calling it. But completely new design. Much more, still, well, I guess not completely new. You're definitely going to see reminiscences of the Osprey in the new design, but I guess a much better performing system. What is that house doing there? The Osprey, as cool as she is, unfortunately, she's got a pretty dangerous track record. Much like the CH-53. 53? Not the Chinook, the Sea King. I think that's the 53. The 53 or is that the 57? Gosh darn it. Now I'm second guessing myself now. But hopefully you guys know which one I'm talking about. Real big freaking helicopter. Single rotor. Big helicopter. She's also got a pretty rough ride. Seems to be a theme with the Marines, I'll give you that. You guys fly some very dangerous equipment. Even the Harrier, for the longest time, she had a very rough track record. Man, she was dangerous. Still is. Not quite like it used to be, but... Gosh, this is cool, you guys. This is a great aircraft. Very well done. So fast. I mean, it doesn't feel like we're doing 200 knots, but man, we're cooking. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to add this to NeoFly, and then do another cross-country flight. Cross-country and the Osprey, guys, we could go anywhere we wanted to go. Humanitarian aid missions, the car accident ones. Could you imagine landing one of these on a freeway? Oh my gosh, it'd be horrible. All right, let's see where we are. That should be Davis-Monthan Tower out there that I just saw. Okay, so I'm gonna start pulling some power back. I'm gonna give myself plenty of time here. I'm terrified to land this thing. Look at it, just like stops. Look at this. You guys notice how quickly the terrain was moving? You can hear the flaps dropping now. I'm gonna start lifting the rotors up. Add some power back in. It's pretty cool. Yep. Really glad I got this one. Really glad I got this one. This is a ton of fun. And I'm sitting here like running through my brain all the different scenarios that we could do with this particular aircraft. This would be a fun one to add to the channel. We'll be flying this one much more. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and drop our gear. And I'm going to start pulling some power back. Actually, I guess I need to start pulling power on. Still too fast to raise the rotors up any further. So I'm going to continue to pull power off. And just like with a helicopter, we have to watch for VRS, or vertical ring state, as we start doing that transition. This is where these aircrafts are the most deadly, is during the transitions. Oh, not yet. I really want to try vertical landing. No. Oh, damn. Oh, I was not watching my altitude. Oh, I got way too hyper focused on the rotor indicator. Son of a gun. Oh, that was bad. Oh, that was so bad. Hopefully you guys will do better than I did with that, because dear mercy, Lord Almighty, that was not okay. That was not okay. Guys, I can't say enough. So it comes out to just about $33, $34 US for this particular aircraft. And I highly recommend it. This thing is a ton of fun. It's complicated, it's challenging, it's definitely aggressive, as you saw. If you let it, it will absolutely take you out of the game. But this is a very, very well done version of this aircraft, especially given the fact that they didn't have access to the real plane. I can only imagine what the real one's like, because this is a pretty fantastic rendition of this particular aircraft. And again, obviously, you know, me not having real world experience, but that's, you know, how many of us do. So from that kind of experience standpoint, I think that's even better. If I can feel like, wow, this is an amazing ride for an aircraft that I know nothing about in comparison to other fixed wing aircraft that we have, or helicopters. I mean, it's literally that transition point. And like I said, this is when all those types of aircraft are the most dangerous. The F-35, the Harrier, and the Osprey. It's as you're transitioning the nozzles or engines, whatever it may be, that's going from, you know, vertical flight to forward flight. That's when things can really get sticky very quickly. As you guys just saw, as I sank like a rock there, because I transitioned too fast. It was that was definitely interesting. I wouldn't recommend my particular approach, but I definitely recommend you guys checking out this aircraft. They've done a wonderful job with it. As always, guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Let me know if you have the aircraft and what kind of cool flights you guys have done with it. I'd love to hear from you guys. Be sure to also check us out on the Discord channel. There's a link to that down in the description below, guys. We're always sharing screenshots and stories, and also asking flight simulation questions all over the channel. We've got a great community that we're building who are all very, very helpful and wonderful people. So make sure you guys come check us out on Discord as well. As always, guys, stay safe and healthy, and I will see you in the next one. Keep the blue up top.